Chapter 1. I woke up at 17. Again. When my daughter scored 200 points on her college entrance exam mock test, I was so furious that my vision went black. 1 second. I was standing in the living room, holding her report card and yelling that even a lazy student would have learned more after 3 years of school. The next second, everything disappeared with a sharp crack inside my head. When I opened my eyes again, I was 17. My mother was standing in front of me, younger than I remembered by more than 20 years. She was poking my forehead with one finger, her voice trembling with anger. 200 points. Jiang Chiran, are you a lazy student? Even a lazy student would have learned something after 3 years. For a moment, I could not breathe. Those words were exactly what I had just said to my own daughter. I stared at my mother's face, at her black hair, at the familiar lines of worry that had not yet been carved deep by time, and my hand lifted without thinking. Mom, am I dreaming? She humiliated my hand away and threw a report card onto my desk. If you could dream your way into a better score, I would be grateful. Mathematics, 45, English, 36, Chinese, 59, Physics, 27, Chemistry, 33, total score, exactly 200. In the upper corner was my name, Jiang Chiran, senior high school, class 10. I had truly returned to 1999. The room tilted around me. I remembered my old life too clearly, because I never harmed properly. I barely entered a private college and chose tourism. Later, when the country developed rapidly, many of my classmates who had harmed hard entered big companies or stable government jobs. I drifted from one exhausting job to another, and when I finally started a small travel company with my best friend, a pandemic destroyed everything before we could stand steady. We lost our savings, collapsed into debt, and struggled for years. That was why, after I became a mother, I was desperate for my daughter to study well. I wanted her to have a choice I never gave myself, but she had looked at me and said, "You and Dad didn't even score 300 back then. How can you expect me to get 600? To prove I was not completely hopeless, I harmed with her. I took online classes with her, sat through tutoring with her, solved problems before explaining them to her. Somehow, through the painful process of raising a failing student, I accidentally became half an exam expert. And now heaven had given me the chance I once lost caused. I held my mother's hand tightly and said with a seriousness I had never shown at 17, "Mom, you are right. From now on, I will listen to you." My mother stared at me as if I had gone insane. I did not explain. I walked straight into my room, and the moment I opened the door, my 17-year-old self almost knocked me down with embarrassment. The entire wall was covered with posters of Nicholas Tse. Back then, my greatest dream was not a university, not a career, and not financial freedom. It was a handsome hero who would appear, love me, and carry me into a beautiful future. That was what foolish girls believed when they had never been defeated by life. I tore down the posters one by one, then sat at the desk and opened my exam paper again. With the knowledge I had picked up while teaching my daughter, I redid the questions from the beginning. The mistakes were so basic that I wanted to knock my head against the wall. Still, when I finished and roughly calculated my current ability, I realized something amazing. If I worked hard, 600 was not impossible. That night, my mother came in 3 times. The first time she asked whether I wanted dinner. The second time she carried food in anyway. The third time she stood there stubbornly until I ate. I told her not to interrupt my path of progress. She muttered that progress also needed a full stomach. I held the bowl and suddenly cried. In my previous life, my parents suffered because I had no ability. My father worked as a security guard even after retirement to help me. My mother kept working in a small real estate agency until her knees were ruined. Yet she refused surgery because she wanted to save money for me. I had spent decades regretting that I had not become someone they could rely on. My mother thought I was crying from pressure. Her voice softened. Did I scold you too harshly? You don't have to push yourself too much. Just try your best. Your father and I are still here. Those words made me cry even harder. After she left, I lay in bed unable to sleep. Near midnight, the door opened softly. I immediately closed my eyes. Since childhood, I always kicked off my blanket, and my mother would come in quietly to cover me. Outside the door, I heard her whisper to my father that something felt wrong with me. She worried I might be under too much exam pressure. My father answered, "Don't think nonsense. It's good that she wants to study. If she ever gets overwhelmed, just tell her I'll buy KFC. She'll calm down right away." My pillow became wet in the dark. This time, I would protect this warmth. I would not let my parents grow old under the weight of my failure again. Chapter 2. The Love Letter That Humiliated Me. The next morning, I walked to school with the kind of determination I had not felt in decades. At the gate, my deskmate and best friend, Lin Anan, ran toward me with a bright smile and pulled me inside. The sight of her made my chest tighten. In my previous life, she was the friend who started a travel company with me. We failed together, lost money together, and sat on the curb crying helplessly when everything collapsed. If I could change my fate this time, I wanted to drag her forward with me too. Before we could enter the school, a strict woman blocked our way. I recognized her at once, Director Sun, the discipline teacher, and also the mother of Shu Kaiming, the school's famous top student. She threw half a torn sheet of paper at my forehead and sneered. "Shameless. Look at your score before dreaming about my son. You wrote a love letter full of mistakes and still tried to sound poetic. Students from the worst class really have no self-awareness." Students gathered quickly. Laughter spread around us. Lin Anan looked at me worriedly, and I finally remembered the buried humiliation. In my senior year, I had once written a love letter to Shu Kaiming with all the courage of a foolish teenage girl. His mother found it, read it, and humiliated me in public. In my previous life, I went home and cried for 3 days. That wound had stayed with me for years. But now, standing in front of her, I was no longer a fragile 17-year-old. I picked up the paper and smiled. "That letter was not written for you. You read someone else's private letter without permission. Do you know how to write the word shame?" Director Sun's face changed. "You..." I calmly moved her pointing hand away. "Do not worry. I am no longer interested in your son. No special reason. I just realized that when I look at his mother, even he becomes unpleasant." The crowd burst into suppressed laughter. Director Sun trembled with rage and ordered me to go home, saying I did not need to attend school anymore. I smiled again. "Did you open this school? Besides, you were worried I liked your son. Now I do not. What are you still afraid of?" The truth was, liking Shu Kaiming had become one of the greatest stains of my youth. In my previous life, after the love letter incident, Chao Mani, the proud top girl who later became Shu Kaiming's wife, stopped me in the bathroom and had her friends publicly shame me twice. When I walked out, I saw Shu Kaiming waiting nearby, not for me, but for her. He had watched everything and believed that a girl with 200 points liking him was an insult. This time, I would erase that stain myself, because I argued with Director Sun and refused to apologize. My homeroom teacher called my mother. When my mother arrived, Director Sun immediately changed her expression and began crying, making me sound like a legal. My mother listened anxiously, then finally asked in a shaking voice, "Teacher, after all you said, I still do not understand. What exactly did my daughter do wrong?" Director Sun froze. My mother gripped her shoulder and became more urgent. "You mean my daughter liking your son was wrong? But she just said she doesn't like him anymore. Is not liking him also wrong? You are a teacher. How can you insult a student like that?" By the end, my mother was crying, but her voice grew firmer. "My daughter is honest. If something happens to her because of this, will the school take responsibility? If my daughter is harmed by this treatment, I will hold the school fully responsible. Do you understand me?" Director Sun nearly fainted. Several teachers who had wanted to mediate collapsed silent. In the end, the principal appeared personally, comforted my mother, and promised to cut Director Sun's quarterly bonus. When I returned to class, the third period had already begun. Lin Anan lowered her head so far that she almost hid under the desk. I tapped her lightly with my pencil case, and she jolted upright, pretending to listen. Then someone poked my back with a pen. I turned around and saw Cheng Ye, my husband in my previous life. At 17, he was still a carefree young master with bright eyes and an easily jealous face. In our old life, after his family went bankrupt, he became a nurse and worked exhausting shifts for years. Yet he never complained. Whenever he saw me suffer, he only apologized for not being better. Now he frowned at me, looking offended. "Did you really write a love letter to that shoe guy? Were you trying to make me angry?" His jealousy was so familiar and so childish that I almost laughed. I wanted to pat his head, but we were in class, so I held back. I only glanced at him and said softly, "We'll talk about this when we get home." To me, it was a natural habit from 20 years of marriage. To him, it was something entirely different. The pen behind me stopped moving. I did not need to turn around to imagine his ears turning red. At lunch, Lin Anan, Cheng Ye, and I went to the cafeteria while we searched for a seat. Someone deliberately slammed into my back and knocked the chicken leg from my tray to the ground. Before I could react, Lin Anan shouted angrily, "Are you blind?" I turned and saw two familiar girls, the same ones who had humiliated me in the bathroom in my previous life. Behind them stood Chow Mani, elegant and proud, looking down at me like a noblewoman looking at dust. I laughed softly. "You two follow her around like fools. Does she pay you daily wages?" Their faces turned red with anger. Chow Mani's eyes sharpened. She was famous for being a genius. Everyone believed she barely stoob-harmed, yet remained in the top 50. In reality, years later, someone exposed that she stoob-harmed late every night and attended tutoring constantly. She built the image of effortless genius because she wanted ordinary students to believe effort was meaningless. I hated that myth. So I looked at her and said calmly, "Your proof is in your bag. Let everyone see whether the genius who never stoob-harms secretly attends tutoring." The cafeteria exploded with whispers. Chow Mani's face darkened. "Jiang Chiran, what nonsense are you saying? Do you have evidence?" "Then let them check your bag," I said. "If you are innocent, why be afraid?" She would never allow it. That alone was enough to plant doubt. She sneered and attacked my grades instead, saying with my current score, "Even a poor college might not accept me." The fire in my chest rose. I pointed at her and said clearly, "Chow Mani, in the next monthly exam, do you dare compare scores with me?" She laughed. "Fine, if you lose." If I score higher than you stand in front of the cafeteria and admit defeat like a fool for 5 minutes. She smiled coldly. And if you lose by even 1 point, you do the same. The bet was made in front of everyone. When we returned to class, I expected mockery. Instead, someone stood up and clapped. Then another. Soon the entire room was cheering. Students from the so-called worst class looked at me with shining eyes, as if I had raised a flag they had never dared touch. I looked at their young faces and suddenly thought, if I could drag Lin Anan and Cheng Ye forward, why not drag the entire class too? If a former 200-point failure like me could rise, why could they not? At that moment, an impossible idea began to burn inside me. Chapter 3. I challenged the school genius. The fire in me did not last long before our mathematics teacher poured cold water over it. His name was Liu Jiangnan, but after more than 20 years, I still remembered him because there was nothing righteous about him. In his eyes, students were divided into 2 types, those with useful families and those without. If a student had money or connections, he smiled. If a student was poor and weak, he broke their confidence with words. Lin Anan and I were exactly the kind he disliked most. That afternoon, Lin Anan dozed off in class before I could wake her. Teacher Liu dropped a thick book harshly onto her desk. She nearly had a serious accident out of her seat, and she looked startled and embarrassed. Lin Anan, he shouted. You scored 90 in math and still dare sleep? Your brain is slow, and you sleep all day. Do you think you're a lazy student? Compared with your desk mate who got 45, you are impressive, aren't you? Lin Anan's face turned wastriki. Her eyes filled with tears. In my previous life, I did not know why her grades collapsed. Later, I found out that after her mother be-harmed and her father remarried, she became an unpaid night caregiver for her baby brother. She went to school during the day and woke several times every night to make milk and soothe the child. She was not lazy. She was exhausted. I could not stay silent. I raised my hand. Teacher, I have something to say. Teacher Liu laughed. You? A 45-point struggling student has something to say? I smiled. If I am lost cause, then the teacher who taught me probably should not be too proud either. My mother found me an outside tutor because my math was too low. Strangely, I understood the same material immediately when he taught it. Do you know what he told me? There are no slow students, only teachers who do not know how to teach. The class broke into stunned whispers. Teacher Liu's face twisted. Very good, if you understand so well. Solve a problem on the board, if you cannot. You will apologize to me and admit you are hopeless. I stood up. Fine, but to ensure fairness, the question must be within the college entrance exam range. He picked a difficult problem from an old exam paper and wrote it on the board. He thought he had chosen a trap. Unfortunately, I had Stube Harmad real exam questions for years while tutoring my daughter. I walked to the board and solved it step by step. When I finished, the class was silent. Then Cheng Ye shouted, "She did it! Teacher Liu, apologize!" Teacher Liu's face turned ugly. He claimed it was coincidence and said I must have memorized the answer. Then the class monitor, who rarely spoke, stood up and said, "Her method is not the same as the standard answer. It is shorter. She could not have written it without understanding." Teacher Liu had no words. He left angrily, saying he would not teach our chaotic class anymore. I was ready to be disciplined. Instead, the opposite happened. Our homeroom teacher argued with him in front of the principal, saying humiliating students was unacceptable because the school feared the matter spreading. They replaced our math teacher. It was the first clear result I achieved after returning. The next problem was Lin Anan. That weekend, I asked her to call her father and say that to focus on studying. She would stay at my house after school. Lin Anan was frightened. What if my dad and stepmother come to make trouble? I smiled coldly. I was waiting for them. Sure enough, after only one night, they came to my door. Her stepmother looked refined with glasses. But the moment she opened her mouth, my parents were shocked. She accused my family of improperly taking in a minor and demanded responsibility for any problem to Lin Anan. I pulled Lin Anan behind my mother and faced them directly. You remember she is a minor now? Then do you remember that after you gave birth last year? Anand had to wake up 2 or 3 times every night to make milk for your baby from 10 at night to 5 in the morning? Is that care, or is that mistreatment? They froze. I did not stop. She is a senior student about to take the college entrance exam, but she cannot even sleep properly. Her father treats her like an unpaid night caregiver, and her stepmother works at a children's center while mistreating a student at home. Should I make a banner and bring it to your workplace so everyone can see? Her father tried to speak, but I cut him off. People say that when there is a stepmother, the father becomes a stepfather too. Are you not afraid? Anand's mother will come back and demand an answer to ask what you did to her daughter. The 2 adults were speechless before they could leave. I stopped them again. From now until the exam, Anand will stay here. I will not charge rent, but you must pay for her food, $300 a month, 4 months, $1,200 total. Pay tomorrow. If not, I will bring Anand to your workplace to collect it. Then I closed the door. Inside the house, my parents and Lin Anand stared at me as if they did not know me. Lin Anand followed me into my room and finally burst into tears. Chiran, you are my savior. In this life, I will follow only you. I wiped her tears and said seriously, then sleep. Tomorrow, when you wake up, I will take you toward a better future. From then on, I became a tireless transporter of knowledge. I took every study method I had learned while tutoring my daughter, broke it down, simplified it, and stuffed it into Lin Anan and Chung Ye like teaching 2 stubborn students. Lin Anan was obebe harmadant, but insecure. One night, after I explained a problem until my throat went dry, she looked at me strangely and asked whether I had been enlightened by an immortal. She said I seemed distant, as if she no longer deserved to be my friend. My heart softened. I placed my hand on her head. Then I will enlighten you too. Now we are the same. The one who gave me the biggest headache was Chung Ye. The moment class began, he became restless, slept, or fidgeted. After several failed attempts, I decided to use his weakness, me. I looked at him with red eyes and said, "Do you want me to lose? Do you want Chaomani to laugh at me? If you give up, I will lose focus too. If I fail, I will blame you for distracting me, and I will be very upset with you." He became nervous immediately and pulled out his exam papers. Fine. I'll study." That was the Chung Ye I knew. 20 days passed. The monthly exam arrived. When the last subject ended, Lin Anan, Chung Ye, and I compared answers in the cafeteria. I knew I would not be below 625. Lin Anan should improve by at least 50 points. Chung Ye, if luck was on our side, should improve too. The next day, the results came out. Jiang Chiran, total score 629, rank 49 in the grade, up 501 places. Lin Anan, 450, up 100 places. Chung Ye, 333, up 40 places. And Chaomani, 625, rank 51. I had pushed her out of the top 50 by 4 points, It was time for her to keep her promise. Chapter 4. The Class They Called Hopeless. Before going to find Chow Mani, I noticed another name on the ranking board. Liang Wanyue, first in the grade, in my previous life. I had never paid attention to her. Back then, I only cared about Shu Kaiming and my own foolish feelings. But when I saw a gentle girl pass by with a cup of hot water, her voice suddenly overlapped with a memory I had buried for decades. A few months before the college entrance exam in my previous life, a girl was involved in a serious school incident. She was not in my class, but I remembered her because I had spoken to her shortly before it happened. I had been hiding on the upper floor walkway reading a magazine, and she asked what I was looking at. I said it was Nicholas Tse and asked if she wanted to read with me. She shook her head and left. Not long after, the whole school was thrown into panic. That girl was Liang Wanyue. My heart tightened. I walked over and said quietly, "No matter what happens, do not force yourself into a lost end. Do not let study pressure crush you." She paused, and hot water splashed onto her hand. Still, she smiled gently. "Thank you, but I don't feel much pressure." Lin Annan nudged me. "She is first in the grade. What pressure could she have?" I looked at Liang Wanyue. "Because she is first, the pressure is greatest." Something flickered in her eyes. I told her that if she ever felt unhappy, she could find me. She thanked me sincerely and said if I had questions, I could also ask her. Only then did I breathe easier. Then I remembered our original purpose. Cheng Ye, born with the confidence of someone who liked trouble, shouted into the top class, "Chow Mani, stop pretending not to hear. Come to the cafeteria gate and keep your promise." The top class immediately looked at us with hostile eyes. Chow Mani sat still, her face pale with anger. A boy near the door frowned. "Don't you know people need time to study? If you don't study, don't disturb others." This time, Lin Annan stepped forward. Her voice was clear. "Exactly. Time is important. So if Chow Mani goes now and keeps her promise, none of your time will be lost caused. If she keeps hiding, then she is wasting everyone's time." I almost applauded. She was learning fast. A girl who had once followed Chow Mani looked up and added, "She should go. She made the bet. If she refuses now, she is just a coward." Chow Mani stood up, trembling. "I don't believe Jiang Chiran could improve by more than 400 points. There must be a problem." Cheng Ye immediately snapped. "Do you have evidence? If not, that is slander." Chow Mani sneered. "You say she did not cheat. Do you have proof?" "The whole class and the proctors can prove it." "That only proves you all colluded. Your entire worst class improved at once. How could there not be a problem?" One sentence offended our entire class. At first, only a few classmates came to watch. Soon, someone ran back and shouted that the top class was accusing all of us of cheating. In minutes, our whole class surrounded the door, led by Cheng Ye, chanting that Chow Mani must apologize and keep her promise. Chow Mani began crying. Some boys from the top class immediately defended her, saying we were bullying a girl. Then Shu Kaiming finally stood up. He walked toward me and said with the calm confidence of someone used to being obeyed, "Jiang Chiran, this is too noisy. Let everyone leave first. Give me face this once." I laughed. "Who are you? Why should I give you face?" He froze. I looked straight at him. "Chow Mani publicly accused my whole class of cheating. If she does not apologize today, this matter is not over." He said she only spoke because her pride was hurt and that a generous person should forgive. I almost vomited. "Shu Kaiming, are you trying to use morality to pressure me? If I had lost, would Chow Mani have kindly let me admit defeating like a fool?" And whether I am generous is not yours to judge. Your face is truly large. The school leaders and teachers finally arrived, except for my homeroom teacher. Most of them instinctively blamed our class. Director Sun opened her mouth and called us troublemakers, hopeless students, future factory lost cause, and a burden to society. I had lived again not to listen to trash from her mouth. I took out the consequencer I had prepared and raised it. If you want to punish me, go ahead. I was planning to send this consequencing to the Education Bureau, so everyone can hear what kind of words a teacher uses towards students. Director Sun's face went stiff. The principal tried to smooth things over, saying she cared about students and was only anxious. I refused. I do not care how beautiful her heart is. What we need today is fairness. Chow Mani accused my class of cheating and even accused the proctors of collusion. If we stay silent, does that mean every student who once had bad grades is not allowed to improve? My throat tightened as old memories surged up. In my previous life, I had suffered too many cold eyes from teachers who believed poor students were already ruined. So what if we stoop Harmed badly? I asked. Are bad students not allowed to work hard? Are we not allowed to improve? Are teachers supposed to feel happy when students get better, or suspicious because you already gave up on them? My homeroom teacher was the first to clap. Then my classmates looked at me with red eyes. Something had been planted in them, the unwillingness to be stepped on. In the end, the principal arranged an immediate retest between me and Chow Mani. With both classes watching, the exam was taken and graded on the spot. I won again. I did not force Chow Mani to admit defeat. I did not force Director Sun to apologize. The result itself was enough. My class almost exploded with joy, but I raised my hand and quieted them. Today I won, and you are happy. But my score is not your score. The college entrance exam is coming, and I cannot enter the exam room for you. If you want people to stop looking down on us, then we all need to confrontation. I told them my father was a bus driver. My mother had sacrificed her work for me, and I had lost cause too much time. I said that studying might not solve everything, but for ordinary people, it was still the simplest road to more choices. Then I said the words that had once moved me deeply. I was born to be a mountain peak, not a stream. I was born to stand high and look down at the low places. I was born to be strong, not ordinary. I will climb upward and never bow my head. The corridor collapsed silent. In that moment, I knew everything I was doing mattered. Chapter 5. I refused to let my best friend fall. After the retest, my name spread across the school. On the way home, Chung Ye looked more excited than I was. He proudly repeated that people from other classes were asking who had defeated Chow Mani. Watching his smug face, I remembered another important matter. Did you tell your father about the pager inventory? Chung Ye immediately became guilty. I did not need to guess. In our previous life, his father's family went bankrupt because he hoarded too many pagers right before mobile phones became widely popular. 2 years later, his father be harmed from heart disease, and his mother followed soon after. Chung Ye collapsed from a carefree rich boy into harsh reality. This time, I had to save him. Since Chung Ye had failed to persuade his father, I went to libraries across the city, searched old foreign technology magazines, and found several articles discussing the rapid spread of mobile phones in Europe, America, and Japan. If mobile phones were becoming cheaper there, Chinese versions would appear soon. Hoarding pagers now was dangerous. With a stack of expensive photocopies, I rushed out of the library and twisted my ankle on the steps. A hand reached out to help me. When I looked up, it was Shu Kaiming. He smiled. What a coincidence. Jiang Chiran. I had no time to deal with him. I thanked him and limped away. Maybe because I was in a hurry. I twisted my ankle again. Shu Kaiming rushed forward and tried to carry me on his back like some domineering hero. I almost exploded. I struck his shoulder, twisted his ear, and demanded he put me down. Within 3 seconds, he surrendered. I took a taxi straight to Cheng Ye's house. His parents were eating dinner when I arrived. They warmly asked whether I had eaten. I shook my head and placed the documents in front of his father. Uncle Cheng, please do not continue hoarding pagers. Foreign magazines from last year already show that mobile phones are becoming cheaper and more common. The Japanese versions came out last year. Chinese versions will soon follow. If you continue stocking pagers now, you may trap yourself. The dining room became silent. Cheng Ye's father slowly put down his chopsticks and looked at the papers. Read and explain them to me. I used an electronic dictionary and translated sentence by sentence. He listened seriously, brows furrowed. Finally, he said in a deep voice, "Thank you for reminding me. I am very glad you are friends with Cheng Ye. I will consider this carefully. Eat first." I exhaled. I did not know how he would handle it, but as long as he stopped blindly stocking more, the first step was done. On the way home, Cheng Ye was unusually quiet, at my gate. He suddenly asked, "Jiang Chiran, are you really a genius?" His eyes were confused and disappointed, exactly like Lin Anan's when she feared I was becoming distant. My heart softened. I smiled. "Yes, I am a genius. So you need to study properly if you still want to be my friend. If you enter the top 400, I can eat lunch alone with you. Top 300, I can walk by the sea with you for an hour. Top 200, I will play video games with you for an afternoon." He immediately blushed and shouted, "Do you think I like you? I will not be tricked by you." Then he ran away. From that day on, Cheng Ye began studying like his life depended on it. He pretended it had nothing to do with me, but whenever he could not solve a problem, he asked Lin Anan, and when she did not know either, they came to me together. Everything seemed to be moving in the right direction. But soon, another rumor exploded. One evening before self-study, Lin Anan dragged me away in panic. "Chiran, Cheng Ye and Shu Kaiming are about to confrontation." In the basketball gym, students had already formed a crowd. I squeezed inside and heard Cheng Ye shouting, "What right do you have to get close to Jiang Chiran?" Then whispers around us reached his ears. They said I had written Shu Kaiming a love letter. They said Shu Kaiming carried me outside the library. They said we were close. I nearly fainted from anger. That day, I had almost strangled Shu Kaiming, and somehow the rumor became romance. Shu Kaiming looked at Cheng Ye with provocation. "What right do you have to question me? Whether Jiang Chiran and I are dating has nothing to do with you." Cheng Ye's face turned red with fury. Shu Kaiming added that Cheng Ye was already 18. If he strikes someone, he could be disciplined, have a legal consequence, and might not be allowed to take the exam. I knew Shu Kaiming was deliberately provoking him. Cheng Ye, that idiot, was about to lose everything for it. So I shouted, "Teacher's coming! Run!" Within 10 seconds, the gym emptied, leaving only me. The real trouble was explaining to Cheng Ye. In class, he passed me a note. The handwriting was messy. "Do you only like top students? Do you only like people who can get into Tsinghua?" Before I could answer, another note came. "Wait for me. I will get into Tsinghua with you." I turned back and saw his red eyes. He looked like a wronged puppy. My heart hurt and almost melted. "After class," I told him, "I'm going to find Shu Kaiming. You can come, but you must hide in the dark and not come out." He protested, but finally followed. Behind the school building, Shu Kaiming misunderstood why I had asked to meet. He said confidently, I didn't expect you to come to me first. Since you understand, I'll say it. Jiang Chiran. I like you. I smiled. What do you like about me? He said he liked that I was smart, that I could achieve anything, that I had become a pearl shining in the dark. He said we were well matched and should take the Tsinghua exam together. I did not take his hand. So you like girls with good grades? I said. Before, you liked Chow Mani because she was at the top. Now you like me because I surpassed her. If grades disappear after graduation, will you chase whoever has money? His face darkened. I continued coldly. If you want to climb through rich women later, grades will not be enough. You should also work on your face and body. He exploded, saying his liking me was already giving me face and that I was not qualified to judge him. I laughed. Your values match Chow Mani very well. Congratulations. He stormed away after declaring that if he was in Tsinghua, I would not be. When he disappeared, I called Cheng Ye out. Now can you study in peace? Under the moonlight, Cheng Ye smiled so brightly his teeth showed. Of course. Then he hesitated and asked, so if you don't like Shu Kaiming, do you like me? I laughed. After the college entrance exam, I'll tell you. Want the answer now? Not that easy. At last, I had coaxed him back onto the road of studying. Chapter 6, The Exam That Changed Everything. With Cheng Ye finally settled, our class entered a strange and intense rhythm. I shared every effective study method I could remember. How to break down math questions, how to memorize English efficiently, how to write essays under time pressure, how to review wrong answers without wasting energy, and how to recognize question patterns. Sometimes I wanted to simply tell them the exam answers I vaguely remembered from 1999. But that thought was wrong. If I gave them shortcuts, I would only create another kind of unfairness. So I gave them methods instead. Our homeroom teacher trusted me more and more. She almost allowed me to manage the class's study plan. I found it funny. In my previous life, I was the student teachers gave up on. In this life, I had somehow become the person dragging the entire worst class forward. Just when everything seemed stable, Liang Wanyue appeared again. One evening after school, I realized someone was following the three of us. When we walked fast, that person walked fast. When we slowed down, they slowed down too. I turned a corner deliberately, waited, then had a serious accident out. The person following us was Liang Wanyue, Lin Anan, Cheng Ye, and I looked at each other. We did not understand. Liang Wanyue's face clearly said that she had something to say but was too embarrassed to ask. I asked Lin Anan and Cheng Ye to wait at an iced dessert shop, then turned to her gently. What is it? Did something happen? I liked soft, gentle girls like Liang Wanyue. More importantly, the date of her tragedy in my previous life was getting closer. I feared she had encountered something she could not overcome. She suddenly cried, I hope you don't think I'm rude. I just want to know, why don't you like Shu Kaiming anymore? Shu Kaiming? My thoughts spun. In the previous life, everyone said Liang Wanyue be harmed from academic pressure, but in this life, she had told me she was not under much study pressure. Now she was crying because of Shu Kaiming. Could that tragedy have been connected to heartbreak? She sobbed and said, I really envy you. You can say you like someone, and you can give him up so cleanly, but I can't. I don't dare say it, and I can't forget. He used to study with me. He said I was ordinary, but at least I was smart. Every time he praised me like that, I thought if I became better, maybe he would like me. But now you are the one who truly shines, and he no longer notices me. Anger rose in me. Xu Kaiming had truly harmed more than one girl with his shallow way of valuing people. I looked at her and said firmly, "I don't know why you like him, but I can tell you this. He does not deserve you." She froze. "He is so good, and I am ordinary. How does he not deserve me?" I nearly laughed from frustration. "You are first in the entire grade, and you call yourself ordinary? Has he damaged your sense of self that badly? Listen to me. You are not ordinary at all." She stared at me. I placed my hands on her shoulders. "The important thing is not Xu Kaiming. The important thing is that you deserve the best. The best person is not someone who makes you sad, not someone who makes you cry, but someone who tries to make you happy no matter what." As I said it, I thought of Cheng Ye. I continued, "Your life is still long. You may go to Tsinghua, Peking University, Harvard, MIT, or someplace even wider. You will meet countless people. One day, you will realize this pain is only a tiny stone on the road." Liang Wanyu listened in silence. Finally, she hugged me lightly and whispered, "Thank you." When she ran away, her eyes were still wet, but her steps were lighter. Everything began to move toward the best possible direction. In the final mock exam before the college entrance exam, I unexpectedly ranked first in the grade with 698 points. Liang Wanyue followed closely, only 2 points behind. Xu Kaiming, the so-called male god, could only stand behind us in third place. Director Sun was so angry that rumor said she locked Xu Kaiming in the bathroom and forced him to kneel for 2 hours. I did not care. What made me happy was that Lin Anan, Cheng Ye, and the entire class had improved dramatically. Our class's average score rose so much that our homeroom teacher seemed years younger from smiling. My parents were even happier in all my years. I had never seen them smile that much. The college entrance exam drew closer. Then Chaomani, who had been quiet for a long time, came to find me. She said she wanted to speak privately. At first, I did not want to go, but she looked different from before, softer, almost broken. I thought that perhaps she too was only a teenage girl hurt by vanity and Xu Kaiming. So I followed her. She led me to the upper floor walkway, the same quiet upper floor walkway from my previous life. Alarm bells rang in my head. I stopped at a safe distance from the unsafe side. "Say it here." Xiao Manny turned and smiled. "Are you afraid I came here with bad intentions?" I nodded honestly. "Yes." She paused. "Do I really seem that dangerous in your eyes?" Then she said she had come to apologize. She said she had been petty and influenced by Xu Kaiming, that he had told her he felt disgusted being liked by someone like me. She said that after our positions changed, she finally understood how wrong she had been. For a moment, I truly softened. She bowed. "I'm sorry. I hope you can forgive me." I stepped forward instinctively to stop her from bowing. Then Chaomani smiled strangely and suddenly tried to shove me toward the unsafe side of the walkway. "Disappear." My heart almost stopped. Fortunately, I had still been cautious. I did not lose everything immediately, but her strength was terrifying. She pushed and dragged me toward the unsafe side. I shouted for her to stop and warned that if anything happened to me, she would be ruined too. She laughed wildly. "If something happens here, they'll just blame study pressure. No one will know." At that instant, the memory of Liang Wanyue's old tragedy exploded in my mind. Could it be that in the previous life, Liang Wanyue had not acted on her own at all? Could Chaomani have been involved? Just as I was losing strength, someone rushed forward and grabbed Chaomani's waist. "Run!" It was Liang Wanyue. Chapter 7. The Girl on the Upper Floor Walkway. Ling Wanyue was slender and delicate. She did not have enough strength to hold Chow Mani for long, but her sudden appearance gave me one breath of hope. Chow Mani recognized her and became even more deranged. Liang Wanyue, you came too? Good. Today I'll drag both of you down with me. She threw Liang Wanyue aside and lunged toward her. I could not watch. I rushed forward, grabbed Chow Mani by the shoulder, and pushed her away with my arm. She cried out in pain and released Liang Wanyue, but her eyes were already red with madness. One after another, all of you steal from me. You all deserve to disappear. She came at me again. I was nearly exhausted. Liang Wanyue stood frozen in fear. For one terrible second, I truly thought I might lose everything I had tried to change. Then Chow Mani suddenly stopped. Something heavy slipped from someone's hand. Behind her stood Cheng Ye, his face pale. The next second, he pushed the object aside and rushed to hug me tightly. His voice trembled so badly that my heart hurt. Jiang Chiran, what were you thinking? Why did you come up here alone with her? Do you know how scared I was? I hugged him back, feeling his whole body shake. You think I wasn't scared? If something really happened, what would my parents do? What would you and Anan do? We held each other until Liang Wanyue whispered, should we call the school security and authorities? Only then did we calm down. Chow Mani was taken away by the school security and authorities because she was already 18. She had to face serious legal consequences for putting others in danger. Unlike the previous life, this time she finally paid for what she had done. Her father was a wealthy businessman. After the incident, he personally came to my home with a large compensation offer, hoping to settle privately. My family refused. My mother scolded him at the door until he could only lower his head and leave. I did not pity him. Chow Mani becoming this way had nothing to do with him. Impossible. As for Shu Kaiming, when he heard everything, he continued studying as if nothing had happened. People criticized his coldness, but he did not care. Director Sun soon left the school. No one knew whether she resigned out of shame or because public pressure became unbearable. Finally, the college entrance exam arrived. When I stepped out of the exam room after the last subject, Cheng Ye ran straight to me. His first words were not about the exam. Do you like me? Tell me the truth. You like me, don't you? I looked at his bright puppy-like face and laughed. I reached up and patted his head. Yes, of course I like you. In front of countless students and parents. Cheng Ye became so excited that he nearly tore off his jacket. Then he lifted me and spun me in circles while laughing uncontrollably. In the distance, my parents and his parents turned away, pretending they did not know us. The results came out. I was admitted to Tsinghua as I wished. Lin Anan was admitted to a 985 university in Beijing. Cheng Ye entered a medical university, and our class, except for Cheng Ye, had 49 students admitted to first-tier universities. It became a miracle in the history of our school. Some stories ended with revenge. Mine ended with proof. Proof that bad students were not born rotten. Proof that effort could change destiny. Proof that a class everyone called hopeless could still stand up if someone lit the fire at the right time. Cheng Ye also fulfilled his promises in strange ways. When he entered the top 400, I invited him to KFC. He said he would not go. But when I arrived, he had already bought 2 spicy chicken meals. Lin Anan happened to appear too. And no matter how we explained, he refused to believe it was coincidence. When he entered the top 300, I owed him a walk by the sea. But the exam was near, and how could I really lost cause time? So I gave him earphones. He thought we were going to relax. Instead, The earphones played English listening practice for an entire hour while waves crashed beside us. When he finally entered the top 200 in the real exam, he got into medical school in Beijing. 6 years later, Cheng Ye graduated from clinical medicine and became a doctor. Later, he chose orthopedics. My mother still developed knee problems at 65, but this time the surgeon she trusted most was Dr. Cheng. The old tragedy had been rewritten. Cheng Ye's father also listened to the warning and dealt with the pager inventory in time, preserving the family assets. Later, he lost interest in risky speculation and spent his days watching people play chess in the park. As for me, I used the opportunities of the era, accumulated wealth step by step, and eventually reached financial freedom. But that was later. At 18, standing under the sunlight after the exam, I only knew one thing. I had changed the ending. Chapter 8, The Life I Refused to Regret. Years later, my daughter did not love studying. In my previous life, that would have terrified me. I would have pushed her, scolded her, dragged her through tutoring, and poured all my regret into her small shoulders. I had done that once, and it had ended with both of us exhausted. In this life, I understood something better. Studying had saved me because it was the road I needed. It had saved Lin Anan, Cheng Ye, and our entire class because we were standing at an age where that road mattered most. But a child should not be forced to carry the regrets of her parents. So when my daughter showed no passion for textbooks, Cheng Ye and I did not crush her. We allowed her to try things she loved. At 10, she encountered fencing. From then on, she slowly found her own path. By 18, she had become one of the bright young faces in the sport. Sometimes I watched her hold a sword and remembered my old anger. The version of me who once yelled that a 200-point child had no future. I wanted to reach across time and tell that woman, fear is not love, regret is not guidance. A child's path may not look like yours, but that does not mean it is wrong. Lin Anan built a steady life in Beijing. She never returned to being the exhausted girl who had to wake in the night to feed someone else's baby. She became confident, warm, and capable whenever we talked about the past. She still joked that I had been touched by an immortal. Liang Wanyu lived too. That alone was enough to make my heart ache with gratitude. She went on to a brilliant university, then a wider world. Sometimes she sent me postcards from cities I had never visited. Each one felt like proof that one sentence, one hand held out at the right time, could pull someone back from the unsafe side. As for Chaomani and Shu Kaiming, their stories faded. They were once towering shadows in my teenage world. But the world became wider, and shadows that seemed enormous under school lights became small under the sun of real life. I often thought about my class. The class people called hopeless. The class teachers mocked as a lazy student sty. The class full of students who had once been noisy, lazy, restless, and wounded by labels. In the end, 49 of them entered first-tier universities. Some became engineers, some became teachers, some entered companies, some built businesses. Not everyone became rich, not everyone became famous, but almost everyone gained more choices than they would have had before. That was enough. My parents aged more gently in this life. My father did not spend his old age working as a security guard to help me. My mother did not ruin her knees to save money for my failures. They still worried, because parents always worry. But their worry no longer carried the bitterness of disappointment. And Cheng Ye remained Cheng Ye, even after becoming Dr. Cheng, even after wearing a striky coat and being respected by patients. He still looked at me with the same bright, slightly foolish eyes. Sometimes he would complain that I had tricked him into studying. Sometimes he would proudly say that, if not for me, He might have become a carefree, hopeless young master who lost everything. I would tell him that he should thank himself. No one can save a person who refuses to move. He would laugh and say, "Then I moved because of you." In both lives, he had loved me. In the first life, he loved me through debt, exhaustion, failure, and regret. In this life, he loved me through growth, success, peace, and time. The person was the same, only the road had changed. After achieving financial freedom, I established a scholarship fund for students from difficult backgrounds, especially those who could only change their fate through education. Every year, when I met those young people, I saw pieces of my old class. I saw Lin Anan's tired eyes. I saw Cheng Ye pretending not to care. I saw Liang Wanyue smiling through sadness. I saw my 17-year-old self standing before a report card with 200 points and finally choosing to begin again. I never forgot the words that once lit a fire inside me. I was born to stand high, not drift with the current. I was born to become outstanding, not ordinary. Perhaps the world is not fair. Perhaps effort does not guarantee every dream. Perhaps some people begin with more resources, kinder families, better teachers, and smoother roads. But for ordinary people, giving up too early is the cruelest thing we can do to ourselves. At 17, I had once believed beauty and romance could save me. At 40, I had learned that no hero would arrive if I refused to walk. Then heaven let me return to 17. Not so I could chase a different boy or win a different argument, but so I could become the person I had always needed. I saved my parents from worry. I saved my best friend from being buried by her family. I saved Cheng Ye from a future of exhaustion. I saved Liang Wanyue from the upper floor walkway. I saved a class from becoming the joke everyone expected. And most of all, I saved myself. This may not be the most perfect era. This may not be the most perfect life. But it is the life I fought for with both hands. And this time, I have no regrets. Thank you for listening to today's story. If it moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you in the next story.